So we'll do one more today. I like talking to you guys and I like picking your brain and hearing from you guys instead of throughout my work week posting car video after car video after car video, and then it gets a little crazy and hectic trying to follow up with everything. I love talking about maintenance. I mean, that's so important to me because the more you keep up on your oops, sorry, the more you keep up on your maintenance, the better off you're going to be. I had a bunch of the Panther platform guys. We actually did a video shootout, and I wanted to bring back up now that there's more of you here and we can actually converse in a larger volume. And some of you work in the field. Some of you guys have more experience than me, and some of you are right on par with the same time that I've been in, and some of you have long surpassed all of us put together and retired. So you're going to have a lot of input on this, I'm sure. Let's talk about parts, where you get your parts from, and the experiences and stuff you had. I'll bring up a few situations and not try to drag this video out too much, but I could keep going and going and going. So I'll try to keep it somewhat reasonable. I'm looking at the price of EGR valves for my town car. I kept popping an EGR insufficient flow code, and I'm thinking it's something to do with the DPFE, you know, the dual pressure feedback. It's something's plugged. Maybe the tube from the exhaust manifold up to the EGR has got a crack or something in it. You know, something. I'm checking the whole entire system out. And on some of those cars, some of you may not know, but there's actually a wire in the harness that grounds out on the back of the manifold or transmission or something like that. It rubs through. I've seen guys talk about having to repair it. I've never run across that situation, but guys, I've seen guys post and stuff. Oh, I found my problem. I repaired the wire that's in the harness. It runs along the back of the manifold, somewhere along the manifold. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's my problem. I'm checking my wiring, everything. I couldn't find anything. I pulled the EGR valve off just to make sure the port where it hooks up is not plugged. That wasn't the case. The EGR valve was just bad. So I ordered a $99 EGR valve off of, like, was it carparts.com or carpartsgeek, autoparts.com or whatever it is. I'm sure you guys have seen it before. Big, like, wholesale place or something online. And the going rate for, like, the AutoZone O'Reilly one or something like that was like 165, 160, 150. You could get them as low as. And the OEM one from the factory, even at my employee discount, was still going to be like $211. So I was like, I don't want to pay $211 for an EGR valve. So I cheaped out. I found the $99 one and I ordered it. It looked great. It looked just like the factory one. Put it on the vehicle. For a couple days the code cleared. Came right back on. I thought maybe it's a problem with the connection. So I pulled the connector off the EGR valve. I'm checking pin fitment. Everything is perfect. Fine. So I squirt some XG12. That's Ford's electrical grease that a lot of people love, in the connector right on the tangs. Plug it back in. Went out for a couple days. Came back. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get away from this, man. I just put a cheap part on this vehicle, and it's not going to work. This is not something. But I don't want to pay the $211 for the OEM one. So I told my parts manager, I said, can you get on the horn with Napa and can you get me one, like a really nice premium one, not some cheap one? So Napa sends one down for like $149.99 or something like that, and it's got a decent warranty on it, especially being through the dealer and me being a technician. I think not only do you get the Napa warranty, but because it was installed by me and ordered through the dealer with dealer paperwork showing that there's a record with my name, it's covered like 3 or 4 years or something like that. And I put the Napa one on it and it cleared up. I quit cheaping out, you know, not completely. OEM one was expensive going through the dealer because it was an item that they know people need for that car. And the markup price was extremely high, even for an employee. So I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So I got the Napa one. Been running great. It's funny whenever you get something that's of value. And I'm not saying Napa's all that, like it's all cut out to be what it is. Because a lot of people have problems with stuff from parts stores if they don't run the OE stuff. Another situation. 2001 Dodge Ram. I would get like an ABS light that would pop on at about 40 mile an hour. So I traced it back to the speed sensor in the rear end. And I pulled it out. It was all rotten and corroded and leaking and stuff. So I pull it out and I find a Chinese one, or I assume it's a Chinese one, but it's got a, what is it, a BWD. It's like a name brand box that you can buy actually from the parts store, but it was on Amazon. It was like $27.99. So I ordered it, stuck it in. Going home the first night, I start to get up to about 65, 70 mile an hour, and right at 70, ABS light pops on. What the hell, man? Send me another one. So I get another one from him. 70, 71 mile an hour, 72 mile an hour, ABS light pops on. It was a cheap sensor, ordered off Amazon. And I started doing some research and I started looking at how Amazon gets a lot of their parts from people that make knockoffs. You'll actually think you're getting like a Motorcraft part or like a BWD part or something like that, and it's not. It's just reboxed, but it's a Chinese cheap sensor. I'm sure most of the stuff comes from China anyway. It's just maybe some of it's a little better quality. I don't know the complete logistics behind that, but I went to the Dodge dealer and I actually got one from Dodge. Light never came on again. So there's some truth to buying better quality parts to make them work, instead of cheaping out all the time. Now, another situation where a cheap part did work, my girlfriend's 2007 GMC Sierra. The light would pop on for her cruise control when she would set it, saying that it was active, power was there, but when you would go set the cruise, there was no cruise. It wouldn't set. So I jumped on all data and I started looking at some of the troubleshooting and where the wires and everything go, and it kept coming back to the brake switch. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if it goes through the brake switch, why wouldn't the taillights not work? Well, that's not necessarily the case. The taillights could still work, but something's wrong inside that switch sensor assembly that goes onto the pedal. I think it's like a 10mm bolt, and then you gotta, once you pull the bolt out, you gotta pull a clip back and then slide it off and then pull it off the assembly. You'd think I'd learned my lesson, right? I ordered the $17.99 brake switch off of Amazon. It's been on the vehicle 6 months now. Never a single malfunction. Put it in there and it worked completely fine. I think it's luck of the draw when it comes down to where you get your stuff from. Cheap, it's always best to go with a better quality or some kind of name brand that you're going to pay more for. Another question popped up, and some of the Panther guys were like, let's do like a little video shootout of ordering your parts, going to the dealer. Sometimes dealers not wanting to help you cross numbers and stuff like that, and I'll give you a situation. The Mach 1 Mustang. I'm one of the head guys with videos out about the chaos that's going on right now. Not head guy with like the most experience, but the chaos that's going on and how I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the Mach 1 Mustang, on why is the splitters not coming with these vehicles from the factory. They're not showing up in the car. Some of them, the loose stickers off the truck say the splitter's supposed to be in the car. They're not showing up. The dealers are telling customers that that part doesn't come with that vehicle because they're not knowledgeable and they don't know. I even called up corporate and I talked to the marketing lady and I said, ma'am, if you build this car off of the consumer site and you select that handling package, A, B, C, D, E, all that stuff comes with that car. Do you agree? And she said, absolutely. And I said, then why are these dealers telling customers and stuff like that that they're simply just not getting those parts? And her answer was the same as mine. They're not knowledgeable. It's a new car. They're having issues with production and getting the stuff in the vehicle, things like that. Well, I wanted to see what was available. And I go to my parts manager and I sat down with him and I said, one of the vehicles actually had the splitter in it. Can you take this part number off this installation sheet and cross it over and see if parts are available? Well, he tried and tried and tried. He was like, dude, why is this thing not popping anywhere? I get it in no population on any parts catalog, no nothing. And I think the catalog that they use is based off some kind of Snap-on platform. They call it the Snap-on platform catalog. I think Snap-on supplies the database or something like that, or I don't quite understand it, but they call it a Snap-on catalog. And he couldn't get anything to pop. And he's like, I just don't understand what's going on. And then he went to another manufacturer's website with Ford, and then like another parts crossover catalog website, and then all of a sudden it crossed. There was another number that popped up. Well, then he plugs that number in and he's like, oh, actually they are available. There's 74 of them in some kind of warehouse in Michigan that supplies the manufacturers with parts, and I see 74 in stock here. You can order it, $600 and some dollars, but you got to pay up front. This is not one of those parts where customers can come in and say, go ahead and get it coming. When it comes in, I'll pay for the part. This is one that specifically states in the computer it has to be paid for up front. It was chaotic to find, it was a little bit of a hassle, I should say, to find that crossover part number, but he did the legwork and he put in the effort to do it. Now, if you make friends with your dealership, they would probably stress themselves out enough to actually do those things for you so you can find the appropriate parts. But I've heard guys say, well, I went in the dealership, I give them the part number, and then they tell me it's not available. But I know it's available. I know something's going on here. Well, it probably has an updated part number. Or the number that you're giving them is an engineering number, and they don't want to do the legwork to go to the different catalogs and cross that engineering number to figure out what the actual Ford part number is for it so they can actually get you the part. So then I go back in and I bother my manager again. I says, hey, what's the deal with this? Why is it so difficult sometimes? And he said, you know what? It's not. When you go to a dealership and you ask for help as a customer, they should help you. What ends up happening is they don't want to help you. If they know you're not spending money there, if they know you're not a reoccurring customer and stuff like that, and they've got other stuff going on, they'll just brush you off and they'll say, look, that part's not available, or that number's not crossing. Can you give me the right number? But he said you can. You can, any number that's on that product, if they did the legwork, there's multiple catalogs that we can go to figure out what the actual part number is for that engineering number or whatever it is. It can be crossed over. They're lazy, or maybe they just don't like you. They're disgruntled about something. They're having a bad day and they don't want to do the extra work. But there's a way to do it. Just like what we did with that splitter. It was a little chaotic trying to figure it out, but we figured it out. I did the legwork because I was willing to put the time into that to figure out what's going on. And if a customer comes in here and they don't want to wait for Ford to send us that stuff and just go ahead and pay for it up front, they need to have the option to do that. And now we know what that part number is. You just have to be willing to do the work to do it. A little bit of a parts video for you just to kind of figure out where your thoughts are on all this. Where do you get your parts from? Where do you order your stuff from? Do you have a preference in getting parts, or do you just shop like I do and have failed many times, tried to find cheap stuff instead of going with the more expensive, better branded or OEM style stuff? Let me know your thoughts, guys.